These are the kind of things I never really put two and two together. Brain fog. I used to lead a big team, and I usually go into a meeting and I catch myself asking people something that I said yesterday. And my team members like, EJ, you said that. We talked about this. And I don't know, it was a sense of overwhelmingness.
I'm Ann Marie McQueen, journalist and proud 50-ish woman, and we are here looking for the true truth in perimenopause, menopause, midlife, and beyond.
Opening our minds to other possibilities is not always easy.
Hotflash Inc.
You're all woman to me. All right, Ann Marie.
We already recorded this podcast and I lost it or misplaced it or something. Yeah. So hi again.
Hello, hello. Hey,
Hi, Ann Marie.
Nice to see you, EJ and Marina from Nnabi. But I'm glad because we talked a long time ago and I know it's been a crazy busy time and you guys are popping up everywhere. So I'm happy to go over everything again. And we've connected now for more than a year, I would say. Maybe more than a year.
Yeah,
More.
for sure.
Yeah, and it's been so neat to watch you guys. We're going to explain about Nnabi in a bit, but why don't you, obviously perimenopause is a thing for you guys, but you also spotted an opportunity. EJ, do you want to go first and talk about what perimenopause has been like for you, where you're at?
Yeah.
How you found out, all that.
Perimenopause suddenly appeared in my life, and it was surprising because I was surprised how little I know about this thing that I was going through. And the more I was looking things up, just like everybody else, you Google it, and it was very confusing. And that's when I realized that I should feel better that I'm not the only one who's lost. And I think that was a journey of Nnabi too. We do need a destination where we can give some clarity to people who are in this very confused. And you also hear all kinds of different things like, is it menopause? Is it period? Again, 4 years ago when we started this journey, no one really was even talking about perimenopause. Yeah, 4 years fast forward, here we are. Everybody's talking about it, which is good. My personal journey of peri is looking back, because when you walk into that peri stage, you don't really realize, ooh, it's not like getting a period, because period, you obviously know you got into that stage, but perimenopause has sneaked in. And looking back, knowing what I know, I think my perimenopause started about when I was 37. And I know that my body changed drastically. At one point, I do remember my hairdresser asked me if I was pregnant. I wasn't, but just the way that, a lot of things that people are looking at from the symptoms or just, it was surprising when I was asked, but then I'm like, oh, interesting, all these different changes. Again, putting it all together. So that's, I think, when it started. My symptoms, everybody's symptoms different. My symptoms are extreme mood swings. I'm a Cancer, so I already knew that I had mood swings, but taking it to another level where I never used to, leading up to a period, I never used to cry. I never used to have that much of a emotional roller coaster. But past couple of years, I realized that I'm losing it. And I remember at one point I was losing it on the phone with my best friend, and she goes, EJ, is your period coming up? Because I lost myself at one point, and she was like, is your period coming up? And again, I don't know, because I was doing too many things. I have no idea, but I felt like I always take pride in that I had a really good memory. And the brain fog, which I didn't even know that was brain fog, by the way, again, putting that together. So brain fog was so real, was quite scary. And it reminded me of my mother, who used to write a lot of things down because she started forgetting things. And I thought that, oh, Mom, you're just clumsy. But now here I am. It's a real thing. And I think that for me, the overwhelmingness, I used to take, just like a lot of women out there, do multiple things flawlessly without a sweat. But I catch myself feeling overwhelmed. And I keep using that word, I'm overwhelmed. It's been probably past a couple of years. And when I continue to hear my own voice and talking about how overwhelmed I am, and I just like, what has changed? And again, this is where I'm putting this sort of perimenopause together, which I also know it's more psychologically pronounced during perimenopause compared to menopausal symptoms. So these are some of the struggles that I think I've had. But growing up, though, I also grew up having a lot of hormone imbalance issues. So hair loss, acne, these things are like something that I experience in irregular periods sometimes. But growing up, I was like, it's fine. I have like fewer or less period. I'm not bothered by it. But then when I was in my mid-30s, when I was trying to understand about my body's capability to fertility, all that good stuff, that's when I realized that I supposedly had PCOS. I didn't know that. I did not know that. And I know that there are a lot of women like me in their mid-30s learned that they had PCOS all their lives. So I think there are certain struggles that I knew that I was familiar with: irregular periods, acne, hair loss, and mood swings and things like that. But I think the perimenopause introduced us another, level of symptoms like brain fog, the anxiousness, and feeling the sense of overwhelmingness. On top of still have the acne and hair loss and things like that, there are continue to impact your confidence. And that is when I was like, I always used to live with this, but then getting into my 40s and learning that there is actually something for perimenopause and certain things are more pronounced, I'm definitely paying more attention close to my symptoms and how I feel. And also I tend to ask friends about it. And now here I am, part of Nnabi project, because Marina and she'll tell you a little bit about her symptoms too, but it's everybody's in it and we're all trying to navigate it. There's no real one playbook. So I think this is where we all have to just chip in with our own experiences and help each other understand that we're not abnormal, we're not sick. There's something really normal we're going through, and it's just part of our life stage, which we embrace.
I love it. How about you, Marina?
So just a similar journey, I'd say, than some of the things that EJ was just saying, and then what we hear about other women. But yes, starting late 30s, and this is all looking back, and I'm sure it happens to you too, just looking back and saying, oh, okay, that was definitely hormonal related. I can say that it was lack of sleep or just like having trouble sleeping. And I that started in my late 30s, I'd say like probably 38, and just having trouble sleeping. And as things progress, you start feeling that you're less able to cope with things. You're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling forgetful. So those things definitely started to happen just as part of that journey. And really that not being able to manage stress, feeling tired, saying that you're tired all the time, just like people ask you, how are you? I'm so tired. Just like it's part of everyday language. And of course, I didn't know it was a perimenopause, but what I'm very grateful for today is that we have a word, that we know what it is. So as I started progressing and going through this journey, once I knew it was perimenopause, I could put a word to it. And many of the symptoms that came afterwards, I was able to very quickly connect them to, okay, this must be perimenopause. This must be connected to perimenopause. But this was like 4 years ago. Before that, really, it was just putting the pressure on myself and saying, this is my fault. This is part of not being able to cope with life, to manage as I should be managing, and doing things a certain way that I felt that it was not enough. So I'm also very glad that there's a word for it and that we can name it perimenopause, so we're not blaming it on ourselves and what's happening to our bodies. But I do think that most women go through it, and many don't know what it is. And just like that, being able to put a name and being able to understand what's happening to your body and being able at some point to do something about it, it's what's important, and not stumbling upon perimenopause and just discovering that the past years have been about hormonal changes versus you going crazy or you having some crazies. I do also, and this is something that you and I talked about at some point, but intrusive thoughts and just thinking all these weird things and fear and anxiety. So those things came later on, and it gets really scary, and mood swings. So things that are really affecting the way that you feel in your body. about yourself, those are really tough. And just like being able to understand that other women are going through it and are experiencing similar things, been very helpful for me. And I know that it's just part of being in a community that we're discussing these things and helping each other. But at some point, it can get really scary because you don't know what's going on.
When I was a newspaper editor, I banned all headlines that said, "New Year, New You." We do not need to be any different, in my opinion. Now, renewing ourselves, that's something I can get behind. One way to go about this is Mitopure by Timeline. Mitopure contains the rare postbiotic urothalin A. It works by promoting a process of cellular cleanup that clears out dysfunctional mitochondria. And mitochondria are what power your cells, which are what power you. Mitopure's own testing has shown improvements in energy levels, recovery time, endurance, and more. Timeline is offering 33% off your order of Mitopure while supplies last. Go to timeline.com/hotflash33. That's timeline.com/hotflash33.
I also heard something. I don't know if you, Ann Marie, you came across this. I need to read a bit more about it. But as part of my research, because obviously been doing Nnabi for the past 4 years, I learned that the life trauma can also accelerate this perimenopause. And looking back, my body changing, but also 37, I lost my mother. And I think that's also, again, looking back, this is all looking back too, but looking at all these things, experiences you go through, and without really understanding how much things impact you, but that could be also additive to how you may feel and how you enter perimenopause faster. Or again, these are the things I've read about, and I'm like, oh, interesting. Again, looking back, I think there's a lot of looking back happening to women in perimenopause. Try to put the puzzle pieces together to make sense of it, but then we catch ourselves in it. And then our hope is that hopefully the women in their 20s, by the time they enter this stage, they're in a better place than us entering.
Yeah. I know that there's a study on adverse childhood experiences, which is trauma, and contributing to worsened menopause symptoms. And I don't know that there's a study, but there could be about specifically a trauma like losing your mom that early. But there's research on socioeconomics and poverty and racial weathering. Why not? Like, it's basically stress that can make it so much worse. But I wondered did we talk about this before? Because I've started saying that the first symptom of perimenopause is denial. Because looking back, I do feel that I didn't know the word, but in all of my thinking, I'm surprised that it didn't just occur to me. And I was just on a yoga retreat with some women who are 10 years younger than me, and they're all having anxiety. They can't sleep after they drink. They're all taking GABA. And one of them, I said, it could be, she's, no, I had my hormones checked and they're perfect. And I was laughing because I was like, yeah, I don't think you could necessarily tell on a hormone test. It's so your body's responding to things that are like, before it shows up, changes happening. And I'm like, you guys all know at perimenopause, I don't want to be the annoying older menopause lady, but I thought they know and they don't want to have it happen. And I understand why, because to me, 10 years younger, they look so young, and we were all just 25. Did you ever look back and think, oh, maybe I did know something, or I didn't? What am I talking about here? Because when you acknowledge you're in perimenopause, did you have to overcome something about aging or where you are in life?
For sure. I'm not sure if since we started discussing this with EJ, and it was even before knowing that it was perimenopause and it had a name, but we knew we wanted to do something. So definitely there was something that both of us were experiencing separately in our own worlds that brought us together and said, yes, we need to do something around hormonal health for women. So that was the start of it. So we knew there was something happening, but we didn't know there was a word for it. And then as we did research and as we got ourselves educated, as we spoke with a lot of experts and doctors and naturopaths and you name it, we discovered that this was perimenopause and that many of the things that we were experiencing were connected to hormonal changes that were starting to happen in our bodies. And so I'd say that's one thing, that there was something beneath our eagerness that was perimenopause. And then the other thing connected to aging, and that part of your question, I'd say there's definitely a coming out. So I personally feel like I came out of and just announced I'm in perimenopause. And you need to overcome things that are definitely connected to getting older. And as you think about it, more so in the workplace with ageism and just being judged by how old you are and how capable you are and how current you are. So I would say that there is certainly for me that experience. And as you speak with women, there's more women that are open to discuss it, and other that is just, oh no, that's not me. I'm too young. That's definitely not happening. So there are different stages, just probably from denial into embracing it and doing something about it, which we should look into that just like for fun, just creating that journey that women go through. Yes.
This weekend, I spoke to two amazing women and we're talking about these things. And I was saying how through Nnabi, our ambition is when we say, oh, I met her and she's so peri. And that word peri to be very much about she's badass, bold, like amazing woman, right? So, and they were like, oh my God, I love that. And then one of them was like, but she goes, but EJ, I'm 41, I'm single. But if I were to come out and say, I'm peri, but does that mean I'm not be able to have kids? Or she was saying all these things, she was learning about it. And I was like, I appreciate your perspective, because especially putting yourself out there in a dating world, you're not going to go and your message being, I'm peri. We talk about what peri is, though. We are still menstruating. We're still very much fertile. And I think there's a lot more that we can talk about what peri looks like. And that's one of the things that we're really driven by at Nnabi, is like showcasing the diverse faces and experiences, and also what that peri power looks like and feels, and want to be able to really showcase the real women and all of us in action, because there are so many women that we know in our community. They are in peri, and they're doing some amazing things. They're all amazing people. Now, yes, on a daily basis, our light sometimes get dim because of how we are experiencing some of these things on our own. It can be dark, but we also want to make sure that, hey, find your tribe, connect it to them, and talk about it. And that alone can be quite therapeutic. And from there are different ways to help yourself. And that's also through Nnabi, we want to really lead with education, because we believe that women, all of us, we need to be educated first. And then it's up to you, your call. It's your body, your call, whatever works for you. But you really do need to understand different programs so that you can ultimately find the program that works for you, the whole body, not just like taking one symptom at a time. It's more like you looking at your body as whole. So that's been our mission and kind of how we operate. And that's been quite rewarding and fun, because we do come across a lot of amazing people who continue to energize us, that keep doing what you're doing. And we want to spread that word that, yes, it is inevitable. It's biology, but you don't have to suffer. There are ways that you can help yourself. And here are different ways that you can do it.
You guys have great marketing background, so you would understand that part of it. What made you decide to do supplements? And like, you're doing education and community. What made you decide to do supplements? Because I don't think you would have known anything about that, would you?
No, and that was part of discovery. We knew what problem we wanted to solve. We wanted to solve something very specific to perimenopause, because no one out there was giving that focus that perimenopause deserved. It was very peri/menopause, and felt from a woman's perspective, you're either in peri or you're your menopause and walk into a post-menopause the rest of your life. And putting that together just felt like really lazy. And that's what we wanted to really bust, really giving perimenopause the specific attention and care that it deserves. So that's where we started. Yeah. And Nnabi, we did not start Nnabi saying, hey, we're going to be a nutraceutical company. No, we really wanted to, again, solve this specific problem that peri women deserved. And that's when we start looking at what can we do. We knew we wanted to do something natural, especially growing up with a lot of hormone imbalances in our lives. We definitely pay a lot of money in medication and shots and things like that. And we wanted to do something that is not invasive, not hurtful, and something more accessible. So we knew that's sort of the criteria. We didn't know exactly what form factor that we will end up with. But when we start understanding the body of perimenopause, what is happening, which is unpredictable, erratic hormone fluctuation, whether you like it or not, as a result, your 5 key areas of health are impacted: your nervous system, your digestive liver function, your blood sugar balance, immunity, and inflammation. Those 5 areas being impacted, therefore, we're experiencing all kinds of symptoms. So knowing that, we wanted to do something a little bit more foundational, and then really taking the functional medicine approach, again, looking at the body as whole versus, oh, you're feeling bloated, take this. You're feeling anxious, take that. Then we realized that women will go through a set of symptoms. So she'll have to end up with many things. And we wanted to just help her streamline and focus and really build the foundation that she needs. So that's really the premise. And once we start looking at different powerful herbs out there, the natural ingredients that we wanted to work with, we looked at different formats. Maybe it could be like one of those things that dissolve in the water, or there's a powder, or is whatnot. But then the kind of ingredients that we're using, we learned from test and learned that the capsule was actually best format. Therefore, our flagship product, Peri Essential 5, is in the form of capsules. So it's in a supplement format. It's a supplement. It's in the format of capsules. But we continue to think about, once we get our name out and get more people to really understand perimenopause, we really are education first. So along the way, if we were to convert people into what we offer from a product perspective, it's great. But first thing first, I think what we are laser focused on is really educating women about what this is, so that she can even get into this marketplace, if you will.
Okay, so just tell me about the ingredients and how they work, because I'm obsessed with nutraceuticals.
So we did partner with a naturopath and an herbalist to formulate for us. So as EJ was saying, we wanted something that was foundational, that was integrative, that it was addressing the primary needs of a perimenopausal body, and just giving support to these different areas that get disrupted by the hormonal fluctuations that are happening. So we're also very clear that we wanted to have a product that was high quality and that it worked. So and it took us over a year to get to the formulation, just create it and fine-tune it and find the ingredients. So it has 6 ingredients. And we wanted to use peer-reviewed, clinically tested ingredients. So making sure that those ingredients had been researched and had been tested before. And we wanted also to be able, for us and for women, to take the formulation for longer periods of time. So also making sure that the ingredients would be safe to take for longer periods of time, and that they had minimal interactions with other things that you might be taking. So that was the criteria. And then also, of course, the dosages, just making sure that the dosages that we are using are the ones that are tested in clinical studies. So you would be getting the benefits of the ingredients that we're putting in. Sometimes you see in supplements that there are 30 different ingredients in one little capsule, and they are supposed to help with all these different things. But the fact is that if they're not in it with the right amount of product, of ingredient, it's really hard for the formulation to deliver its benefits. So few ingredients, the right dosages, really high quality, and all clinically studied and tested. And you will find some of the ingredients are patented extracts that are very high quality extracts that have more goodness in them, and that they are standardized. So you will always get the same quality of ingredients. So that's also something that we put focus on. So you have, for example, hydrocurc, that is curcumin and is the active ingredient that you find in turmeric. So that is one of the key ingredients of the formulation, and it does a lot of things to support from joint health to your nervous system. So it does a lot of different, also supports different areas of your body. It's not that one ingredient does one thing, but the nice thing also about the formulation, it's very synergistic. So you get just like all these ingredients working together and providing really nice support. You have KSM ashwagandha. Again, it's the highest quality ashwagandha that you can find, and it's also very helpful for just when it's supporting your brain fog, all the cognitive functions, also on your mood. So it does a lot of just like different things within a formulation as well. You have maca. So it's maca extra. It's another patented extract, and you've heard a lot about maca, but it's just like that, this energy boost. It also helps with night sweats. It does. It has helped me with that for sure. And hot flashes. It helps with libido as well. You have artichoke, which will help with digestion and liver function. And you have also, what is cinnamon? You have schisandra, and you have in the second SKU, you have CBD as well. So that's the seventh ingredient in the green one, in the green product. So those are the ingredients. And again, it's just really looking at this as a formulation and just getting that synergy of ingredients to support all these 5 different areas that get disrupted by the hormonal shifts that happen during perimenopause.
Did you know I also have a Substack? That's just a fancy way of saying I have a newsletter. But listen, it's not like every other newsletter. I am the only journalist in the world who's made menopause my beat. And each week I share research, news, products, tips, and tricks from the world of menopause and midlife. Sometimes I even write an essay. Hotflash Inc. on Substack is where I pull together everything that's here and in the menosphere, and I break it down just for you, so that we can try and make sense of it all and figure out what to do together in real time. Join more than 5,000 women practitioners, CEOs, and more, and become a subscriber today. You can get my podcast as well as special video and audio drops you can't get anywhere else. Sign up today at hotflashinc.substack.
And for the listeners, NnabiLife.com, we have a dedicated page and ingredients, so you can take a deeper dive into each of them and each of their power, but also, again, putting them together in a synergistic way. Also, we work with a compound pharmacist to make sure that the dosage and how it all works and are very much meticulously calculated. So please check us out on ingredients page to learn more.
And I love your packaging. It's so cool because it's like these packs that, you know what, I'm just going to get it. Hold on, because I have it here. I should have been prepared. I'll cut this out. I'm in the middle of a big house reorganization. Okay, so what I love is that it's like in these packages, it's so cool when it arrived. And then you have these little containers. And so
Mother
none of it,
jar.
and it's glass. I hate when people do this on TikTok really loud.
It is glass, people. It's glass.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
mother
I
jar.
love that it made it to Dubai. So
Yeah, we got it in. We didn't get the CBD one for obvious
but-
reasons you guys said, but
yeah, we didn't want to break the laws in
no,
Dubai.
it was great.
So.
I was hoping you'd try, but it's okay. Anyway, it's just, you could just tell great care has been taken. And I love how it's splitting it up in the various sectors, because I don't think that enough people do that. And I don't think enough people are paying attention to liver and gut. Liver for sure. The more you talk to people outside of mainstream medicine, liver is just such a big part of it, and our livers are
So important.
taxed, and hot flashes are connected to the liver. And so where did you guys come across? Like, how did you come? Is this just your own research or working with the herbalists and
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
just figuring it out, getting to
Yeah.
the bottom of it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just really trying to understand what happens to your body during
Body,
the
yeah,
time.
during this time. Mhm.
And then there's so much research that still needs to happen because we're all of
Yeah.
us, we are working with what's available. So there's still a lot to be done. But yes, this is basically us trying to understand how to bring something that is very comprehensive and very holistic to your everyday and to support all these like crazy, I don't know, like dozens of symptoms that you experience. So this formulation works with the most bothersome symptoms, the most common symptoms that you will experience. So like managing stress and fatigue and brain fog and sleeplessness and joint discomfort, sugar cravings, which is such a big thing, bloating. So it
Bloating. Mhm.
supports over 10 different symptoms. And yes, definitely this was all part of doing our own research and speaking with doctors and the herbalist, and also testing the product, which is something that we tested the product in an open label study here in New York. Was led by a physician. It was 30 women for 60 days, just trying the formulation and reporting back. So we had really good results as well. So just making sure that we had a sound formulation. And again, as we always say, it's not a silver bullet. It's not the only thing that you need to do. It's take a supplement and then get on with your life. Perimenopause is a time where you need to really stop and evaluate the things that you're doing and what has worked so far might not work anymore, and reassessing and adjusting your lifestyle. So you do need to do certain things just to get through it and to get to the other side, but just making sure that you're getting enough sleep, that you're moving your body, that you're able to manage stress, that you're able to take things off your schedule and keep it leaner, and just having time for yourself, putting the right nutrition in your body. So there's a lot of different things that should be happening as well, just to help you to carry through to the other side in good health and in good spirit. So there's you talk a lot about this as well in your platform, just all the different things that you should be doing, and you also speak with different experts and just making sure that you're giving your body what it needs during this time for now,
focus
and also for later on.
Yeah, I just want to focusing on the name of the product, Para Essential 5. And this is really where everything started, is 5, right? Those 5 key areas of health get disturbed because of the fluctuating, unpredictable, and erratic fluctuation of hormones. And so that's really how we even end up getting to the set of ingredients that we selected. Of course, the criteria is they have to be peer reviewed and they have to be clinically studied on its own, so that we're using the best of the best. And I tell people like, yeah, you're taking ashwagandha, but you know that not all ashwagandha is the same. So make sure there's a generic kind, there's a high quality kind. So you have to pay attention. They're like, I don't know the difference. This is where the education happens as well. Not all ingredients are the all same class. They have a different grades. But just wanted to talk about the 5 areas, because like Para Essential 5 really is how we're grounded, looking at the woman as, again, the whole body, and bringing the holistic and comprehensive solution to that.
It's super thoughtful. And I've only gotten involved with a couple of supplement companies, and you're both like obsessive. You guys don't do any of the same stuff, but you're both so obsessive about ingredients. And there's a cheap way to do it, right? There's a cheap,
for sure.
a very cheap way to do it. Did you guys come across that when you were putting this together?
Oh yeah. Definitely it's a big project.
Yeah.
Doing it in the form of a supplement like the way we did it, it's quite a big investment upfront, but we did not want to cut corners. If we're going to do it, we wanted to do it right. That's why we ended up choosing. There are ways that you can work with players that you can white label, because a certain product that's already existed and you just need to put your brand name and market it that way. That's a quicker way to get into the market. Whether that's going to last you or not is a question mark. Maybe good marketing could give you some runway, but we wanted to make sure no matter what happens, lead with really good product. And then, of course, layer good marketing. But we did not want to compromise on the quality. And that's why we took up more than a year to even get to this formulation. And when somebody experiences the power of Perimenopause 5, they'll never go back. And I think that's something, it's been so powerful for us. And that's the energizer, knowing that the product is good. And we just need to layer the good marketing on top of that, not lead with marketing and hope that the mediocre product will.
It's so nice. It's just so nice to see that. As a journalist, you just see so many people just do so well with the marketing. But we're in this age of it's better to be authentic, and people can sense it, and people are getting smarter and smarter. And I always want to say girls, but all the people coming up, they know this. They're smarter about their supplements. They're not just going on Amazon and ordering or those things we see with 800 ingredients. And I don't even know what they're called with the old box. It looks like it's from the 60s.
Yeah. Even some claims, Emery, some claims were like, what? First of all, they can't say that. And second, I hope this shit doesn't work to people. Like to your point, our audience are the women in Paris, for example, they're very savvy. And so I hope that some of these things, it's a more of a noise than not. But again, I think yes, of course, we pay attention to competition and what are competitive products out there, but we want to just focus on what is right. And we are the customer of our own brand.
Yeah.
Marina and I, we take Perimenopause 5 every day, and we believe in it. And the people that we share this with, whether it's our friends or new friends, our community of Nnabi insiders, we want to make sure that this is real so we can confidently say, like we stand by. This is not just something like short-term thing that we're doing. We're in it. We're playing a long game. We're here for a long time to do this and do it right. And I think that hopefully then not all supplements are categorized as one thing, because I know that supplement can be a bit of a polarizing conversation.
I wanted to ask you about that because, oh God, like it's just such a common dismissal is to be like, oh, you just pee them out and they're all these they're all done cheaply and they're a scam and a grab. And I know a lot of that messaging, a lot of it's true. There are people in the supplement space doing that, but there's also like a huge push by people have a lot of money to make selling other things too. I don't think people realize how much money is put into discrediting what's perceived as competition. And so really good nutraceuticals are so powerful, right? Like they can be as powerful as drugs. And often drugs are made from some of these ingredients, which is why I find the whole conversation when I see a doctor just slamming all supplements. I don't know. What's your take on this? Like, how do you guys, you must get this. Like, how do you respond?
I'd say, and I mentioned this before, we did a lot of due diligence in looking for ingredients that we knew worked and that they are tested and that they are reviewed and there's just information available about the functionality of these ingredients that have many of them been used by like centuries by just different cultures. And we did work and we do work with a group of doctors. There's a naturopath and an herbalist within the team, and is just looking for that rigor behind what we're putting in our bodies. And not only what we put in, and really ensuring that there's the highest quality available of that ingredient put in the formulation. So for sure, and we take it and we have other people taking it and we tested the formulation as well and we have really good results. So we do believe in the formulation. We stand behind the formulation and we have research that shows how it works and how it supports your body. And we also do take other supplements as well. We take, I don't know, I personally take magnesium and omega and vitamin D and all things that I know work and that my doctor also has me taking because I'm in perimenopause and I do see the difference and I do feel how they work in my body. But there's, yes, to your point, there's a lot of different voices and just really what EJ has been saying so far is just educating people, just having people have the information available, and then everyone can make their own decisions on what they believe it works and what they want to do and what they want to take, if they want to take anything at all. But just being very responsible with and very transparent in the way that this is what we're doing, this is what's in it, and you can take it, and we have it third party tested up front, back front. It's just there's a lot of rigor behind it, and we do stand by it and the functionality and how it works.
Last month, Ann Marie, there's been a lot, like over September, October, there's just been loads of events around perimenopause, menopause, women's health. And I'll tell you, I met two doctors. They're very well known. And it was interesting because one doctor was very much supplements are crap. And then there's another doctor, and she also recently released a book as well. But she's very much, she's a doctor, but she focuses on more the holistic approach. So meaning you have to do multiple things. And I do think that what I'm learning is that the medical world, I think, can be quite like one camp. That's how they're trained. And it's not wrong. It's just that I do think right now, almost all of a sudden there's interest in perimenopause. For example, I'm menopause as well, but just talking about perimenopause for a second here. There are a lot of information. And I do think that now is not the time to be too polarizing in anything. Now is the time to talk about really education about different methods, different ways, and how there's no one way to fix something. And also, this is not an illness or disease. We, as a peri woman, will need to incorporate different strategy, and they'll involve multiple things. That's just what it is and how it is. So being able to educate more, and I want to respect all different practice areas and smart supplementation, just like how we are told by our doctor, vitamin D, vitamin B and C, and a lot of this omega. There is a place for smart supplementation when it comes to peri. And again, not everybody's built the same way. Even though we put the highest quality ingredient, some people may react to herbs in a good way or bad way, but it's really comes down to your body. So we welcome people to try and see what works. And if it works for you, who's going to stop you if you feel great? So I think that's the thing where we just need to be educated so that we can make judgments and calls. And of course, consult with your physician so you're not doing anything overdosing or underdosing on certain things. But I do think that there's absolutely a place for smart supplementation and plus everything else too that you should be considering, as you should, and then understand how it could work for you and trying things out. So I think that's just what we want to say to our fellow peri women out there, that yes, this is going to be maybe a bit frustrating because you might have to navigate this journey and then find your own program, but also take it as the powers to you. So you're going to figure out what that program is, and you just need to really advocate for your being. So be prepared to articulate how you feel, because oftentimes people say, I don't feel like myself. And that is, in fact, becoming a term. That is actually an indication that like you might be in peri. And start there, but then trying to understand what are the symptoms. Maybe I may not have, but try to learn all kinds of different symptoms that people are experiencing during this stage, and also prepare for your next doctor's visit. And actually, that's why we put together an ultimate peri cheat sheet, helping people to prep for their doctor's visit best. So that, because oftentimes people go in and just they don't know what to even ask. And then they're like, oh, you're 3 minutes over. Bye. So we want to prep women like ourselves in terms of kind of questions, and also even how to articulate what we're feeling and what we might be experiencing. So I think it's all power to you, but you got to do some homework, and you got to also be honest with your body too. Denial doesn't help.
Okay, so that is all great advice. Marina, what would you give yourself when this was all starting?
I wish I know about the symptoms. So every time that we speak with someone, it's just, what are your symptoms? Know your symptoms, because there's so many. And then you would not necessarily tie them to hormones. You will tie them to something else. And we know that based on our own research. Like 27% of women that we've spoke to link their symptoms to perimenopause. Like 50%, they link it to their lifestyle and how hectic it is, because it's like late 30s, 40s. You're in it. You're just like your career, your household, your life. It's just like very intense and very hectic. And it could be just like rightly very overwhelming. So if you layer on perimenopause, it's just explosive. You could get there. And just knowing your symptoms and knowing that they could be perimenopause is just truly where we should all be starting. And having, and within the some of the webinars and meetings that we've been doing here in New York, IRL meetings, we've had younger women come, just early 30s, and they are not in peri yet. However, they are peri curious, how we call them. They want to get educated. They want to know more, and how empowering that is, just to be in your early 30s and already know that you will experience this at some point in your life, and being prepared for it and having a word for it and just having resources and being able to do something about it. So I would say starting with your symptoms is critical, so you don't go crazy, and you probably save a lot of worries, a lot of money, a lot of time, just knowing that it's perimenopause and having that conversation early on with your doctor. Yeah.
All right. Last question is, I always ask a question after I say last question, but I'll try to make it the last question. So there's since we started, I was like 4.5, 5 years ago, you guys 4 years ago, it's really blown up about hormone therapy. And that when you talk about it being polarized, that's the thing, right? Because it seems like if you talk about anything outside of hormone therapy, people think you're saying that they can't take hormone therapy. Like, I just had a conversation with someone about this, about cognitive behavioral therapy. People go absolutely crazy when you mention it. And I'm not saying you can't do hormone therapy. These are tools. Like, it's a toolbox and there's tools. What's your take on what you've seen like evolve since you have come on the scene?
Yeah, I'll say that 4 years ago, again, there was like nothing, like zero, like flat line. And then all of a sudden, there are a lot of different, like more accessible, like supplementation. And then all like past probably like year and a half or so, there's a little bit more of doctors jumping in and talking about hormone therapy. And I guess past just within less than a year, I think there's a lot more. And I think social media definitely obviously fuels that conversation. And I do understand why there's all of a sudden there's a lot more attention to it. And I think it's a good thing. It's just that it's, again, the way we respond to that is there's no one thing. Oftentimes we meet a lot of people in this peri stage thinking that, if I get hormone therapy, then I should be all set. And I think that's also a myth, right? And this is where we want to say, of course, you should consult with doctor if you're qualified. Although peri stage might be a little bit tricky because our hormones are still fluctuating. So you may not be a candidate. Of course, you have to work with the right doctor to begin with. Sometimes some doctors don't even entertain you, but we want them to explore. We encourage them to learn more about it. But no matter what you end up doing, we always encourage that there's more than one you need to do. And in fact, our product is not hormone. It actually quite complements the HRT, because HRT alone is not going to solve some of this digestive issue, for example, some of the areas that HRT will not cover. So we're trying to educate from our end. We feel very responsible educating women that there's more than one thing you need to do. And even if you end up being qualified and end up trying HRT, you also need to be a little bit open-minded that it's also not like one size fits all. There's HRT that fits you, that fits somebody else. So you need to play with it a bit, right? So have a little bit of experimentation mindset. And even if you are doing HRT, try to not forget about smart supplementation in different areas that can be supplemented for a reason. So we want people to have a bit more of that holistic approach to treating their body. Again, I keep coming back to looking at your body as whole. So it's not just about one thing, but it could be like multiple things as part of your strategy. So that's been what we've been saying to a lot of people come to us and ask. But I don't know, Marina, if anything else you want to add.
No, I'm nodding. There's still a lot of research to be done. And this is what I absolutely love about the work that you do, Ann Marie, that you just bring the facts and the research. And I learned so much through you, because it's just like you're a shortcut to so many things that otherwise it would take us much longer to find or to research. But there is, and we're again in perimenopause. So we're just like laser focused in perimenopause. There is not a lot of research on hormone therapy and perimenopause. And if anything, it's recommended later on your perimenopause journey. And then there's just like a white space. So we don't know. And when we think about perimenopause, it's just like just giving your body what it needs during this time. And again, you have hormones fluctuating in your body, so you might not be a good candidate for it. But again, this is all to say that there's still a lot of research that needs to happen in this space, specifically perimenopause, just to really understand what's happening with your body and then what you're able to give it to make it work when it comes to hormone therapy.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch because, yeah, there really aren't enough studies. A million studies on pregnancy, a million plus, and under 10,000. I think under 7,000 on and on hormone therapy and perimenopause, it's minuscule. It's crazy small. I think it's in the hundreds. It's in the hundreds. I looked it up. It's under 500. Yeah. If you look on PubMed for hormone therapy and perimenopause, it's 470 was what I found last week. That's crazy. That's so a lot of what people are telling you is based on menopause and extrapolated, but we know they're two completely different things.
They are.
I've been through both of them.
In fact, actually, Ann Marie, I was listening to your recording that was part of the newsletter this week about hormone replacement therapy while I was cooking this weekend.
Nice.
It's always nice. Yeah, no, but that's you ask questions, and I wanted to hear the sort of what you hear back, and so that was very helpful. Thank you. I think that's the thing. We're all learning. That's the thing. No one's really any advanced in any when it comes to this topic. Yes, we rely
it's a developing
on
story.
Doctors, but it's a developing story. Absolutely. Yeah. So I think we're all learning. So anything on social media, obviously, you hear what you hear, but just making sure that you are fact checking, and also your body's not always just like anyone else. And again, there's no one size fits all solution when it comes to perimenopause or even menopause, or when it comes to our body. Let's just try to filter things too. I want the ladies to take away. Like, you got to find our own program, and it all starts with knowing your body, knowing your symptoms, and education about what are the options out there.
That's what you're being called to do. I love it, guys. Thank you so much, ladies, women, friends.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ann Marie, for making space for us.
Hotflash Inc. was created and is hosted by Ann Marie McQueen, produced and edited by Sonia Mack. The information contained in this podcast is intended for informational purposes only and is not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products referenced on the podcast, consult with your healthcare provider, read all labels, and heed all directions and cautions that accompany the products. Information received through the podcast should not be used in place of a consultation or advice from a healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem, i.e. menopause or anything else, or any healthcare questions, please promptly see your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Ann Marie McQueen and any producers or editors, disclaim any responsibility from any possible adverse effects from the use of any information contained herein. Opinions of guests on this podcast are their own, and the podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about a guest's qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. This podcast is owned by Hotflash Inc. Media.